Hey, and we're back on the inside, right here on 90.1 FM, and it's election season. Everyone is politically charged right now, and the candidates on the political hustings, they are trying to woo all the voters or to woo the electorates to be on their side. One of the candidates that's trying to do that is the PNM candidate for Mayaro, Clarence Rambharat. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Rambharat.
Hi, good afternoon, and good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago.
Welcome to 90.1 FM.
Thanks for having me.
Mr. Rambharat, how has your campaign in Mayaro been going so far?
Very good. We're getting close to the election date, and of course we have high energy. We have a lot of enthusiasm and motivation, and we are very, very confident of winning Mayaro for the PNM.
What's the electorate like in Mayaro right now in terms of numbers?
It's just over 26,000 voters.
Just about 26,000.
Yeah.
And you have been working in Mayaro for almost a year now, right?
Yeah, maybe about 14 or 15 months now.
Wow. And the response has been overwhelming?
It's increased over time. One of the challenges of walking outside of an election campaign is that it's very unusual. And people may be interested in listening, but you don't have that high energy. We had to create a lot of energy, but once we got into the real election campaign, the campaign itself, and as you said in your introduction, people are locked in and focused on the election and the campaign and the issues, then there's been a high level of interest.
What are people telling you in the constituency of Mayaro?
Well, I started off on a platform of representation, having done the preliminary walks and interactions before I launched my campaign to become the candidate. Throughout the constituency, people talked about this issue of representation and what it means to them and their expectations and so on. People wanted to see their member of parliament. People wanted to see the work of their member of parliament. People wanted to feel that they are supported by a member of parliament, that they're supported in terms of access to state services, access to benefits, the infrastructure development that they need. So this issue of representation and this word representation became part of the language and ultimately became the number one issue in that period when I walked the constituency for the first time.
And in the constituency of Mayaro, what is most needed at this time from your observation?
Jobs, and it's about to get a little worse.
Why?
I've made a point across the country when I've spoken that Mayaro has the highest youth unemployment in the country and the highest unemployment in the country. What that means is the average young person leaving secondary school in Mayaro or leaving a trade program or any other program has very little chance of landing a job. And if they land a job, it's going to be a temporary job. They land an OJT position. So the issue of the creation of jobs and the availability of jobs, the access to jobs has been the number one need of the constituency. Now, I said it's about to get worse because my understanding is that with oil now at 38 US a barrel, the energy companies are about to make another round of cuts. So I understand that BP, which has a significant presence in Mayaro and in Trinidad and Tobago, BP is about to make some cuts, and there are other companies that I know about to make some further cuts. Now, we lost several hundred jobs as the oil prices declined earlier this year. So it's very difficult in an economy, a Mayaro economy that is already finding difficulty in creating jobs to meet the demands of young people and other people in the constituency. It's very difficult to sustain another rounds of job cuts, and I'm increasingly worried about the young families who depend on a significant breadwinner in the family, that this round will hurt them. But that brings me to my plan for Mayaro, the alternative. And what I've done is that I believe I'm among the first candidates in an election who has taken the constituency economy on its own without regard to the national, what is happening nationally. I've looked at Mayaro in terms of what drives the Mayaro economy, and I've come up with this vision I call the East Vision, where I've identified that we rely in Mayaro on 4 sectors to generate economic activity in the constituency, and those 4 sectors are energy, agriculture, services, and tourism, and from that I get the word East. Now, having identified what is creating the economic activity in the constituency, I now have to find ways of reconfiguring, maybe becoming less reliant on energy, becoming more reliant on agriculture, more reliant on services, more reliant on tourism, and reconfiguring the matrix so that we can create more economic activity in the sectors positioned for growth. And I know, for example, that agriculture is positioned for growth for a long time.
Yeah.
We have said across the country. This morning I was on another radio program saying my 2 rivals for this election have said that they want to bring wholesale markets to the Mayaro constituency. And I've said that wholesale markets are part of the problem my constituency faces. We should not be taking our hard work, cutting it and bundling it and selling it off wholesale. What we should be doing is processing what we produce, bottling what we produce, packaging what we produce and distributing it, putting it into cold storage, branding it, and making it available not only to Trinidadians and Tobagonians, but across the world where West Indians live. And they look forward to the opportunity to purchase commodities, including fruit and vegetable, from Trinidad and Tobago. So this idea of just selling off our hard work wholesale,
it must be packaged,
is not suited for our economy. Likewise, it hurts me every time I see the fishermen go out and they toil at night and they come back early in the morning, and there's a van waiting there with the large coolers and the ice waiting to take their sweat. And it is the middleman who is reaping the rewards, whether it is fishing, whether it is hunting, whether it is farming. The middleman reaping the rewards. And the only reason the middleman has that position of strength is because we don't have cold storage, we don't have packaging, we don't have branding, we don't have distribution, and we don't have the agro-processing that would bring value to the commodities we produce. And once we create the cooperatives, once the government makes available the land and the other financial and technical support to the farmers can take control of their own destiny. And farming combined with processing, packaging, distribution will become a sustainable way of living.
Mr. Rahman, is still there? Do you still have a vibrant fishing industry in the Mayaro area?
Very, very, very vibrant. But a major, and when people ask me about consultation with the community, we have a $60 million fishing port in Guayari that sits there unused since it was the ribbon was cut for it in June 2012, and that is because lack of consultation with the end users means that the fishermen cannot land their catch on they cannot access the fishing port.
Why is this?
The waves are too dangerous for the boats to come alongside the jetty that was constructed. And it requires a lot of study and some engineering to fix that. So in 2.5 years, after the taxpayers of this country invested $60 million to have that facility, Mayaro fishermen have not been able to use that. Now we have other issues in fishing. The Mayaro is reliant on one gas station. So again, when diesel runs out at that gas station, when fuel for the boats run out at that gas station, then it's difficult. And there are other things relating to fishing, like ice, for example.
Yes.
We have not been able to provide the facilities and the support for the fishermen to make fishing something, an activity and an industry that is sustainable.
In a meeting in your constituency earlier on this week, the leader of the party, Dr. Keith Rowley, said that once the PNM is elected into government, the Minister of Agriculture will be Clarence Rambharat. What's your qualification? Why he has so much confidence in you, whereby he can name you in advance as the Minister of Agriculture?
Well, I think Dr. Rowley set out in a level of detail that does not normally accompany a cabinet appointment or any recommendation like that. He set out in detail and he laid out what were my academic qualifications, my job experience, and his understanding of my, the way I work. And I think fundamentally, I think he pointed to my experience in the public sector, my experience in the private sector, my understanding of how the bureaucracy of the state works, my understanding and expertise in corporate governance and good governance. He also pointed out to my experience in Caroni Limited, my role in the restructuring of Caroni Limited, as controversial as that restructuring was, and my history of dealing with farmers in particular.
So you have been around the industry.
I have been, but I also come from that background. I've said, that I'm not an expert in fertilizer, and I'm not an expert in the planting cycles, but I'm a leader. I have a vision for agriculture which is informed by all my interactions with farmers, especially in the last year where I led the PNM team that developed the PNM's policy on agriculture, and when I worked on the manifesto. That required extensive consultation across the country with farmers, with everybody who's involved in the sector. And that put me in touch. It gave me the real interaction and the real understanding of what the industry wants from the politicians. And it puts me in a position where I feel equipped to do what the farmers would like us to do to support this industry.
Now, it sounds good. Being a minister with portfolio and a minister without, it could be a challenge if one to have portfolio. How you intend to work around this? Because it sounds good in theory.
Yeah, well, I have said, the work of a member of parliament comes first, because it's your constituents who put you into parliament, and they put you there for one reason, and that reason is to represent them. Now, some members of parliament get the additional responsibility of a cabinet position. In my case, Dr. Rowley has made it clear that I will be in the cabinet. What it means, I've always expected that my time as an MP was going to be consumed more than 50% by the work of Parliament. I never intended to be a quiet legislator. I intended to be involved in all the work of the committees and so on in Parliament, and I intended to be an outstanding legislator, seeking the interests first of Mayaro and seeking the interests of Trinidad and Tobago. So I always intended that representation did not mean Clarence Rambharat doing everything. I intended to attract the most qualified, the hardest working, the most capable people from the Mayaro constituency to develop a team that would assist. This is a large constituency. One person can't do it. And I said throughout this campaign, I'm going to find the people who are capable of assisting and supporting the representation of Mayaro. I'm going to create a body that allows me to provide representation, not on my own, but through a system. So what it means now is that system becomes even more important, because when I have cabinet responsibility, it
Yes.
takes on an additional amount of time. But in my case, Dr. Rowley has also said, this fits well for Clarence because 65 or more % of his constituency's economy is agriculture.
All right.
So it gives me an opportunity to develop not only my constituency, but all those constituencies and all those rural communities and everywhere across Trinidad and Tobago that relies on agriculture, the production of food, on forestry, on everything that, all the marine resources and everything that combines to feed this country.
Because it's important. We must diverse from the oil, gas. We must
right, well, we, even with oil at $100 a barrel or 120, in rural communities, we always had the need to develop the agriculture because, of course, the riches from the oil and gas goes to the consolidated fund and then pass to the constituencies through the development plan.
Mm-hmm.
But agriculture is a direct way of developing the rural economies. Making these communities, or each rural community has, if you look at the economic profile, and if you look at the families and the reliance on agriculture, it is significant.
Yes.
So whether or not we have oil and gas, we should be developing rural economies. Now, the lower oil prices make it, once again in our history, very critical that it's not about diversification because the agriculture is there.
Yes.
It's about sustainability, developing agriculture and the infrastructure and support for agriculture that will allow farmers to live off agriculture for a long period.
Well, the thing about it, we have relied so heavily on the petrochemical industry, and agriculture has been there from the genesis. We have not really paid much attention to that. But now, going forward, we see that attention must be given to agriculture.
It must be, and in this particular, I am not here to bash the government or anything. But the fact is, by the dismantling of Tobago, which was an agro-processor set up before, I recognize that Tobago had issues with governance, and I recognize there were problems. But the fact is that the agro-processing function was dismantled. Mm-hmm. NAMDEVCO has clearly lost its way, and I want to make it clear. The PNM has no intention of interfering with people and with jobs in the Ministry of Agriculture or any institution falling under agriculture. But the fact is that NAMDEVCO has lost its way in its relationship with farmers. Right. The fact is that the ADB has not received its subvention from the government in 3 years. Mm-hmm. And with the best plans in place, the ADB has not been able to provide that support. In fact, ADB could very well be on the brink right now. Wow. So that my intention and the PNM's intention, we have no desire, I've said it across the country, I have no desire to interfere with the hard-working people who support the public service, who are contract employees, who work in state corporations. I have no intention. But last night in Bish, I said, the tagline of the Ministry of Agriculture under my watch will be farmers first.
All right. Mr. Rambharat, you are coming up against two other candidates.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure you, within yourselves, you believe that you will come out victorious in this Mayaro constituency.
Yeah.
When you came in to campaign, did you meet the Mayaro constituency in a form of disarray?
The constituency, there is no question that the constituency has been left behind. I mean, if we have a $60 million fishing port that is non-functional, if we have the focus on this completion of this fire station, which I have said, if I wanted to build a new fire station, I will build it where it would serve a greater geographic area in the constituency. A library that is not opened because of politics, for the school vacation. the children in this constituency may have been able to use that library. It's been sitting there for many, many months. In fact, there was an opening planned about six weeks ago, which was aborted. So, I mean, those are three things that the other side talks about a lot. But the fact is, development has not taken place in this constituency. And I don't mean box trains.
Yes.
I mean the economic development of Mayaro, so that those four sectors I identified could be sustainable and could generate jobs that will absorb the young people coming out of schools and trade schools with a burning desire to earn an income.
Right. Mr. Rambharat, you have seen, I'm sure you know over the last couple of days what has happened with Winston Peters' Gypsy.
Yeah.
What are you getting on the ground out there in Mayaro? What sort of feedback are you getting in regards to that?
I have little children wearing Clarence jerseys, oversized, given their age, waving my flag, waving bandanas, hugging my leg and saying, Mr. Clarence, I am hearing on the ground that this constituency of Mayaro is ready for change. This constituency of Mayaro invested heavily in me. I was born here. My primary school education was in this constituency. This constituency supported me when I was in school in Princestown Senior Comp and in Presentation College. Before that, this constituency has seen me grow up before its eyes. And this constituency is ready to send me to Port of Spain into the parliament to represent it. So on the ground, all I am hearing, come September 7th, Clarence Rambharat, homegrown, world-class, is heading into parliament.
And as we get ready to wrap up, Clarence, just on the same Gypsy, Gypsy is no more a member of the party. Do you see that having any impact on the electorate out there in Mayaro?
I don't see anything. I mean, Gypsy, as I said, I recognize his service. We have a lot of people who talk about serving. We have a lot of people who talk and don't offer themselves. I commend him. I thank him for offering and serving Mayaro. He's a son of Mayaro. We are both sons of Mayaro. We are also friends. We have a very good relationship. I respect him. He has done what he has to do. That is his private business. There are things about what Gypsy has said. Those things are matters that I will discuss on the platform. I've already spoken about Gypsy repeating what may be an allegation that $5 million was paid to have a particular candidate given the nod in this constituency. But what Gypsy speaks about is consistent with the culture of government that Kamla Persad-Bissessar has run. If Kamla Persad-Bissessar did not have this attitude towards taxpayers' money, if Kamla Persad-Bissessar did not turn a blind eye to what ministers were doing, we would not have ended up in live sport. We would not have ended up with a $34 million payment, maybe $36 million payment in live sport. And the government does absolutely nothing to recover a cent of that. The government just sits there with multi-millions being paid out to private lawyers, and not a cent has been invested in recovering that $34 million. And that is because Kamla Persad-Bissessar runs a government on a culture of corruption and theft. And Gypsy's statement is consistent with that culture. And I am not the one saying it. Gypsy, from inside that party, a loyal and trusted UNC member, somebody who, by his own admission and statement, invested in having Kamla Persad-Bissessar as the Prime Minister. Gypsy has said it. And if Gypsy has said it, he is best positioned to know. But I'm not about Kamla Persad-Bissessar and her government.
Yes.
My interest is, I was born in Rio Claro. I was born in this constituency. I've lived most of my life looking to the day when I could be of service to my constituency. And come September 7th, Mayaro would respond in a very positive way. above politics, above ethnicity, because Mayaro knows it has cleared the way for me to go into Parliament.
Clarence Rambharat, the candidate, PNM candidate for Mayaro, I want to thank you very much for speaking to us here on 90.1 FM and wishing you all the best going forward as we enter the home stretch to election 2015.
Thank you very much. Remember, more for Mayaro.
Thank you very much, my brother. All the best.